waiting for me to do this since I did my Obi-Wan Kenobi episode reviews and then my Star Wars, Lego Star Wars series. So I am going to be doing a tier maker or a tier list of every single Star Wars TV show and movie. So every piece of Star Wars media out so far are going to be on this tier list. And as you can see, this is broken up into Grandmaster, Council Member, Master, Knight, Padawan, Youngling. So basically S, A, B, C, D, F. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so Grandmaster is only one. There'll only be one film in that category. Because I just know there is one single Grandmaster at a time. And this is going to be based off of my own opinion for the most part. I'm going to be going off of how I feel and how I like them. Not how good I think they are, just if I like them, if I enjoy them. Okay. Starting off, the first Star Wars, A New Hope, 1977. It almost feels like you have to put this at the Grandmaster tier because without this film and without the success of this film, then you wouldn't have the rest of any of this. In this one, piece, this one movie spawned a cultural phenomenon that has persisted for generations and, is one of the most profitable, biggest names, IPs of all time. So it's almost hard not to put it at Grandmaster, but I think looking at it just as a Star Wars movie compared to some of these other Star Wars movies, I think it's definitely not controversial to say that A New Hope is not the strongest film in the series. Definitely not the weakest, but for me, I'm gonna go Council Member, A tier. It's A tier. Okay. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. In my opinion, the worst piece of Star Wars media ever. There's some redeemable bits. The Battle of Geonosis towards the end can be okay. It can be visually exciting, but Attack of the Clones is kind of just a train wreck in a lot of ways. In my opinion, it's like the worst example of some of the stilted dialogue that George Lucas was prone to writing in the prequel trilogy. And the romance felt very awkward in this. It got better for Episode 3, absolutely, but it felt very awkward in this. In Attack of the Clones, the battle with Dooku, I like that. I like the amount of Count Dooku in this film because Count Dooku is one of my favorite Star Wars villains. I've always liked Count Dooku, but Attack of the Clones is just kind of a mess of a film, and it's rightly kind of treated as one of the lesser films. So I'm going to put that in the Youngling category. Star Wars Rebels. I did not like Rebels when it first came out, but I have the later seasons of the show I actually quite enjoyed. And Star Wars Rebels also has what is, in my opinion, the best lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars, which is that final duel between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. Like I said, I think the earlier episodes aren't that great. I think it really hits its stride later on. So I think for might just see, just because it's a little bit hit and miss. I have not seen this. Star Wars Resistance, I've not seen this. Return of the Jedi. Now, I know that Return of the Jedi is considered the weakest of the original trilogy, and there's definitely some goofy elements and some things that do not hold up, and I can appreciate that. But growing up, Return of the Jedi was always my favorite. That opening scene on Jabba the Hutt's at his palace, Slave Leia, the green lightsaber with Luke, the final confrontation with Vader and the Emperor, and you know, the Ewoks and that stuff. You can deride it a little bit, but I've always liked Return of the Jedi. For me, I had to put that at council member tier. Alright, episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Easily the best of the prequel trilogy. And I think the further we get away from it, the better it looks. Now, it's definitely not without fault. There's, you know, just like all the prequel films, there's a lot of issues with it. But, I really do like Revenge of the Sith, watching the transformation of Anakin, Mace Windu versus Sidious, the final battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's just, there's a lot of great cinematic, pivotal moments, and there are some goofy ones, but Revenge of the Sith is definitely one of those movies that I always go back to and rewatch when I want to watch Star Wars, so I'm going to put that at council member tier. Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I know a lot of people have this as like their favorite Star Wars movie ever, and when the movie was a little bit more fresh in my mind, I definitely was one of those people who was like, this is one of the best things of Star Wars ever. But I think now that I have more distance between seeing it for the first time and now, I can look at it a little more objectively, and although I do think it's really good, and especially that final Vader confrontation, overall I think the movie suffers from having so many characters that you're not familiar with. Like, they introduce a bunch of characters in the same movie and then expect an emotional impact when they die or something, when it didn't really, there's too much. So I think for that reason, I have to put it at a tier below. I do still think it's very good, but master tier. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. Solo, A Star Wars Story. Now, I actually didn't hate this when it first came out. I liked the character they had for Han. I thought he was okay. But, and I really liked Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. I thought that was a great choice, and overall I did think there were some fun moments in this movie. I know this movie does get a lot of hate, but honestly, I don't really dislike it that much. I think for me, I could actually put Solo in the C tier, or Night rather. I do think it's a fun movie, especially if like you're not taking it that seriously, kind of just like a space opera type thing. I think it's very good for that, and I know some moments have rightfully been derided as like very on the nose and very like derivative, and I'm not really going to argue against that because some of them absolutely are, but I still enjoyed it. And since this is, you know, I'm doing my personal opinion, that's what I'm basing it off of. I enjoyed the film. I think it's fun. I can rewatch it and not hate it. Like, I can enjoy it. So I'm going to put it in C tier. Star Wars Clone Wars is on here twice. The Clone Wars. Am I missing something? Am I missing something? I think they just put it on here twice. It's the Clone Wars. I thought it started off kind of slow, and I wasn't really a big fan when it first started. But by the end of it, I thought it really got its stride and started telling some very interesting stories. And so I think for me, it's like similar to Rebels, how it started slow but got better. But I think the peak, or the thought, there was more high quality Clone Wars than there was high quality Rebels. So I'm going to put Clone Wars in Master category. Although I do think that Obi-Wan versus Maul fight in Rebels is better than anything that happened in Clone Wars. I think overall the Clone Wars had more high quality moments compared to Rebels. But yeah, I think they just put it on here twice. That's kind of weird, so I'm going to leave that one down there. Now, you guys probably all saw this one coming, so I don't really need to explain it too much. Grandmaster, that's Empire Strikes Back for me, in my opinion. And in most people's opinion, the best Star Wars movie ever made. Most people have it as a top 10 movie ever made, period. Just one of the best movies of all time, not just Star Wars movies or action movies or sci-fi movies. If you watch my top 10 movies of all time list, you will see Empire Strikes Back on that list. I think it's just perfect Star Wars, and it's probably the darkest. Maybe Revenge of the Sith is a little bit darker, but the darkest a Star Wars movie has ever gotten. I think it's very good. I mean, I feel like I need to spend too much time talking about how good The Empire Strikes Back is. Because yeah, I mean, that's just, it's considered the best piece of Star Wars media for a reason. Okay, Episode 7, The Force Awakens. This might be a controversial opinion, but I actually kind of like The Force Awakens. Like, I can rewatch Episode 7 and have a good time. And Episode 7 made me very hopeful for where Episodes 8 and 9 were going to go. And unfortunately, they did not end up going there. I don't think it's like good. I'm going to put it at average. It's C tier for me. Yeah, the Force Awakens, the way I looked at it was kind of like retreading A New Hope, getting the old characters out of the way and then getting ready to tell a new story. But then that's what I thought at the time when I first saw it, rather. But then obviously we ended up in a place that was far different from that. But yeah, I don't mind The Force Awakens. I think it's a fun film. I think there's some good moments, some exciting moments, and I think it's actually quite rewatchable. The Last Jedi. This is one that might be controversial. I don't consider The Last Jedi as bad as Episode 2 or, spoiler alert, The Rise of Skywalker. Do I think it's a good movie? No, not really. I thought that it tried to do something interesting that obviously was not continued or expounded upon when JJ came back. But I did think it was interesting, and I thought the problem with the sequel trilogy is just that there was not an overarching 3-movie arc written down and in place before the first movie was made. So I think that they slowly get worse in quality as it goes on, because they're just kind of like flying by the seat of their pants. So I'm going to put it in D tier. I thought there were some interesting moments. The idea of Luke sacrificing himself, I don't completely hate it, although I would have much rather seen that not happen. the Luke versus Kylo Ren fight, I thought, is still a really cool and interesting fight. The throne room fight, as picked apart as it has been, and as goofy as some of the choreography is, in my opinion, it's still not like that out of the norm for how weird and semi-bad Star Wars choreography can be, even in the best of times, so that's not a huge pockmark for me. And I do still think that the throne room fight is very visually compelling. Alright, The Mandalorian. Now Season 1 of Mandalorian, that goes up here. But Season 2 of Mandalorian, that goes down here in Night Tier. I loved Season 1 of Mandalorian. I thought it was one of the best television shows, period, that I had seen. And the second season, even though you got to see Ahsoka, you got to see Luke and all that stuff, it almost felt like it was relying too much on the cameos from other characters that we already knew, and it kind of felt like some of the character exploration of our main character was ignored in order to showcase these other characters in Season 2. So I think as a whole, I have to put it in Master or B tier, just because that the second season I really didn't care for it that much. As much as I like the scene of Luke coming in and saving the day or whatever, at the end of the day, I want to see The Mandalorian. I don't want to see Luke Skywalker. And I feel like we missed out a bit on The Mandalorian in Season 2 of the show. Alright, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. That goes to Padawan tier. It has a lot of issues, obviously. You know, Episode 1 has been picked apart, you know, all the way to you know where and back. And I think that all people of a certain age have seen the Mr. Blinket, the Red Letter Media review of Episode 1. And I think that certainly colored perceptions of not just Episode 1, but the entire sequel trilogy, you know, for a certain age bracket of people. You know, these are the movies I grew up with, but I definitely, noticed the flaws, especially in Episode 1. Obviously, Darth Maul, one of the best, coolest, most interesting villains in Star Wars, especially how they build upon him in Clone Wars and Rebels. So he gets redeemed a bit. Qui-Gon Jinn is one of my favorite Jedi of all time, but I like Qui-Gon Jinn as he's expounded upon in the books and the comics and things. You know, he doesn't get much character in this, but Liam Neeson and Darth Maul are the best parts of Episode 1 in my opinion. And obviously the fight at the end, but just overall not a great film. And finally, The Rise of Skywalker. That has to go in Youngling tier. I mean, somehow Palpatine has returned. It's just, they did not know where they were taking this series. I mean, you can find hour-long, multiple hour-long video essays talking about the problems with this movie. The dagger that's perfectly cut to line up with the Star Destroyer, etc., etc. Just, it's a movie full of plot holes and just a very lackluster ending to the most recent saga. I'm hopeful that Taika Waititi's trilogy that's been approved kind of gets the sour taste out of our mouth from The Rise of Skywalker currently being the last film in the Star Wars canon. But this is my tier list. So at the top, Grandmaster, we have The Empire Strikes Back. Council member tier, we have A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, and Revenge of the Sith. In Master tier, we have Rogue One, The Clone Wars, and The Mandalorian. At Night tier, we have Rebels, Solo, and The Force Awakens. At Padawan, we have The Last Jedi and The Phantom Menace. And at Youngling, we have Attack of the Clones and The Rise of Skywalker. So, please let me know in the comments down below what you think of my list, what you agree with, what you disagree with. I'd love to hear any and all thoughts and comments about it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this every single day. And until next time, guys, bye bye.